But it should be said here that after Manchester United signed Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford in a fee worth £71 million, their focus has been on player sales. We know Marcus Rashford has joined Barcelona on loan with an option to buy for around £26 million. But now United are working on other exits, Jadon Sancho, Antony, Tyrell Malacia, as well as Alejandro Garnacho. So Aston Villa interested in Alejandro Garnacho, Manchester United interested in Ollie Watkins, one of a number of strikers that they are looking at, and initial talks have taken place between the clubs. Aston Villa and Manchester United have happened over Ollie Watkins potentially going to Manchester United and Aston Villa having an interest in the Manchester United forward Alejandro Garnacho. Now, we have been reporting throughout this transfer window that Manchester United do want to bring in a number 9. Now, this is regardless of whether Rasmus Højlund remains at the club or not. They have been exploring the conditions of deals of various strikers, including Villa's Ollie Watkins, including Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson and RB Leipzig's Benjamin Šeško, who the focus now, I have to reiterate from Manchester United's perspective, is player sales. They want to generate some money so that they maybe can go again in this transfer market. But we have been saying throughout this window that they are in the market for a striker. They are in the market for a number 9, and that's regardless of what happens with Rasmus Højlund, because there has been a bit of talk about Italian clubs interested in Rasmus Højlund. But whether he stays or goes, I think Manchester United would want to strengthen in that position. We've been told that initial talks have taken place with Aston Villa over Ollie Watkins and are understood to value him in the region of around £60 million. But there is a lot of interest in the England international. As for Garnacho, Aston Villa, we know, are keen on the player. United clearly want to sell Garnacho, but as it stands, Villa cannot meet the demands that Manchester United would put on a transfer fee with regard to Garnacho. We've always said as well that Garnacho's preference is to stay in the Premier League, but he does want to play in the Champions League. Villa, of course, won't be in the Champions League next season, and as yet, Chelsea, even though they are interested in Garnacho and they are in the Champions League, there hasn't been that formal approach to Manchester United as yet. Now, look, we do know that Manchester United are interested in Watkins and Villa interested in Garnacho, but they would be two separate deals rather than a swap deal, even though we do know that one going to Old Trafford and the other one going to Villa Park, they would be helped because the talks would be ongoing. With regard to Šeško, the interesting one here is that the recruitment director at Manchester United is a gentleman called Christopher Vivell, and he's the one driving the interest in Šeško, because when Šeško was 16, Vivell was the sporting director at Red Bull Salzburg, and he brought him in to that club. Hence, there is that long-running interest. But if you look at what United have done so far in this window, I mentioned Cunha and I mentioned Mbeumo. What they do have in common is that they've got Premier League experience. Now, I just wonder whether Manchester United have looked back in the last few transfer windows and thought, when we've gone abroad for the likes of Højlund, Xerxes, Antony, hasn't worked. We maybe need players who hit the ground running straight away. So hence why they've got these two players in their mid-20s, arguably at their peak of their powers, and who have performed really, really well in this league already.
Latest, Martinez rejected £45 million bid. United signed swap deal with West Ham. Antony, Sancho, Malacia updates. I'll create a 21-part long article series covering all the major angles of this story, including the rejected bid for Lisandro Martínez, a possible swap deal with West Ham, and key player updates on Antony, Jadon Sancho, and Tyrell Malacia. Manchester United have reportedly rejected a £45 million bid for Argentine centre-back Lisandro Martínez. The offer, which came from an undisclosed European giant, was swiftly turned down by the Red Devils, who consider Martínez a vital part of Rúben Amorim's defensive setup. Despite his injury troubles in recent months, the club believes the 26-year-old still has his best years ahead of him and remains a dressing room leader. Manchester United and West Ham have reportedly agreed on a swap deal involving midfielder Scott McTominay and defender Naif Gerd.